What if the biggest problem in your life right now is not the wrong thing you keep doing? What if the real problem is that you are slowly getting used to it? Think about that for a second, because that is a very different kind of danger. Getting used to something means you stop noticing how far it is pulling you away. And that is the kind of thing that can change the direction of a person's whole life. Every single day, there are people who wake up and feel that pull in their chest. That feeling that says something is off, something is wrong, something needs to change. They know what they're supposed to do, and they also know what they keep doing instead. And the distance between those two things is where a lot of pain lives. If you have ever felt that, then what you are about to hear was made for you. There is something that happens when you repeat the same mistake over and over again. At first, it feels wrong, really wrong. Your chest feels heavy. Your mind feels uneasy. But the second time, it feels a little less heavy. And the third time, even less. That is not because the action changed. That is because you changed. And that slow change, that is the part most people do not catch until much later. Right now, pause and think about one thing in your life you know you should let go of. Not something you feel great about. Something that has been following you around. Something you have promised yourself you would stop more than once. You are not alone in that. A lot of people carry something like that every single day, but carrying it and staying stuck in it are two very different things. Before we go any further, go ahead and drop a comment right now. Just write, "I am still fighting." That is all, because saying it out loud, even in a comment, is a way of telling yourself you have not quit. You are still here. You are still paying attention. You are still trying. And that matters more than you might realize right now. This channel exists for one kind of person, someone who refuses to give up on their faith. Not someone who has everything figured out. Not someone who never falls. Someone who gets back up. Someone who keeps trying even when it is hard. If that sounds like you, go ahead and subscribe right now, because that is exactly who this is for. Every video on this channel is built for that person, and that person might be you. Here's what the situation often looks like from the inside, and maybe you will recognize it. You know something is wrong. You feel the guilt. You ask for forgiveness, and you mean it. You make a promise to change, and you really mean that too. But then, a little while later, you find yourself right back in the same place. And that cycle, when it keeps repeating, starts to wear a person down in ways that are hard to explain. The thing about this kind of struggle is that it is usually invisible to everyone around you. Your family might not know. Your friends might not know. You might smile and carry on, and nobody would ever guess what is going on inside. But there is an awareness that sees everything, and that thought alone can be both heavy and humbling, because it means you are never truly hidden, and that is worth sitting with. What makes this kind of guilt so exhausting is that it does not scream at you. It just sits there quietly underneath everything you do throughout the day. You might laugh and have a good time, but it is still there when things get quiet. It follows you into the moments when you are alone with your own thoughts. And the longer you carry it without doing anything, the heavier it tends to get. Here is something worth thinking about. Nobody knows how many chances they have left. There is no countdown clock. There is no warning system that shows you the number. Every single day is an opportunity, but nobody is guaranteed another one after it ends. That is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake something up inside of you, because urgency, when it is honest, can be one of the most powerful motivators there is. There is a pattern that almost everyone who has gone through this kind of struggle can describe. The first time you felt something strong, unease, guilt, discomfort, a real sense of wrongness. The second time, those feelings were still there, but a little softer around the edges. By the third or fourth time, it almost felt like just a normal part of life. That shift did not happen all at once. It happened so slowly you barely noticed it. The heart does not harden overnight. That is one of the most important things to understand here. It happens the way erosion happens. Slowly, quietly, one small layer at a time. You do not wake up one morning and find your conscience completely gone. You just notice, gradually, that certain things that used to bother you no longer do. And that gradual change is far more dangerous than any single moment of weakness ever could be. Think of it like this. If you put your hand near heat, you pull back immediately. But if the heat increases so slowly you hardly notice, you can stay in it far longer than you should. That is what repeated patterns of wrong behavior do to a person's sense of right and wrong. They turn down the sensitivity so slowly that you stop pulling away when you should. And the moment you stop feeling that pull, that is the moment worth being most afraid of. The greatest danger in this whole conversation is not the moment you make a wrong choice. The greatest danger is the moment you make that same wrong choice and feel absolutely nothing. No discomfort, no guilt, no sense that anything needs to change. That is when the distance between you and where you want to be becomes very, very wide. And closing that gap at that point becomes much harder than it ever needed to be. Right now, go ahead and write in the comments, Allah, strengthen my heart. Not because saying it fixes everything in an instant, but because intention matters, because the direction you point yourself in, even before you fully arrive there, changes things. It is a small act, but small acts done sincerely tend to build into something much larger over time. Write it down, mean it, and let it be the beginning of something real. There is a very specific kind of thinking that keeps people stuck in cycles they want to escape. And it does not sound like a lie at all. It sounds completely reasonable. It sounds like, just this once. Or, I will stop tomorrow. Or, starting fresh on Monday. It sounds like logic. It feels like a plan. But it keeps the cycle going indefinitely. Because tomorrow never quite becomes today. And Monday keeps getting pushed to the next Monday. The problem with just this once is that it is never just this once. Every single time that phrase has ever been thought, it's set up the next time automatically because it does not address the root. It just delays the moment you have to face it. And delay, when it becomes a habit, starts to feel like a strategy even though it is not. It is one of the most common traps people fall into without ever realizing they are in it. Think about how many times you've said tomorrow to yourself about this particular thing. Add up all those tomorrows. What do they add up to? Weeks, maybe. Months for some people. Years for others. Time that passed while the habit stayed, while the distance grew, while the cycle continued. Not because the person was bad, but because tomorrow felt close enough to count as a plan. Here's a question worth sitting with honestly. What if tomorrow does not come the way you expect? Not in a dramatic sense, but in the ordinary sense of life, simply moving faster than we planned for. Years go by, seasons change, and one day you look back and realize the change never happened. Not because it was impossible, but because it kept getting scheduled for a day that never arrived. That is one of the quietest tragedies that can happen in a person's inner life. Many people do not lose their connection to what they believe in all at once. It happens in slow, almost invisible increments, one postponed intention at a time. One, just this once, becomes 10, becomes 100, becomes a lifestyle. And at some point the person they were trying to become starts to feel very far away. Not unreachable, but far. And the longer they wait, the farther that version of themselves feels. Now here is the part that is easy to miss when you are in the middle of this kind of struggle. The fact that you feel guilt means something. The fact that you are here listening means something. A person who has completely stopped caring does not seek out conversations like this one. A person who still feels a pull of wanting to be better is a person whose heart is still open. And an open heart is the most important thing you could have right now. There is something remarkable about sincere regret. It has the ability to reset things, not erase them, but reset them, to create a genuine new starting point. And in many traditions of faith, that reset is always available as long as the heart is honest about it. The desire to change, when it is real and not just a performance, carries enormous weight. You do not have to be perfect to turn towards something better. You just have to be honest. If you feel, even slightly, that you want things to be different, hold on to that feeling. That feeling is a resource. That feeling is a direction. That feeling is a starting point. A lot of people wait until they feel completely ready before they try to change. But readiness does not usually arrive before the attempt. It tends to grow because of it. The trying itself creates the readiness, which means the best time to begin is always right now. But here is the tension that deserves to be named honestly and directly. The window for sincere change is always open, but nobody knows exactly how wide it is. That does not mean panic. It means attention. It means not treating today like it is guaranteed. It means recognizing that the moment you are in right now is real and present and valuable. Not because tomorrow is not coming, but because today is the only day you are actually living in. If strengthening your faith is something you are serious about, subscribing right now is worth it, because this channel puts out content built exactly for moments like the one you are in. Not perfect, polished, theoretical faith, but real, lived, struggling and still going faith. One video, landing on the right day, can shift something significant inside of you. So subscribe and let the next one find you when you need it most. It is worth being honest about what the trajectory looks like if nothing changes. Not to be harsh, but because honesty, even when uncomfortable, is a form of care. When the same pattern continues without any real interruption, a few things tend to happen. The behavior grows, the guilt shrinks, the awareness gets quieter, and slowly, without drama, the person drifts further from the life they actually want. You may not notice it happening right away. That is part of what makes it tricky. Life keeps going. You keep functioning. From the outside, nothing looks catastrophic. But on the inside, something important is being worn away, little by little, day by day. And the realization of how far things have gone often comes all at once, in a quiet moment. When that moment arrives, the feeling is usually one of real grief, not for what was done, but for the time. There's a kind of distance from your own values that builds so gradually you stop measuring it. You stop comparing where you are to where you wanted to be, because the comparison became too painful, so you stop looking. And once you stop looking, the drift accelerates without any resistance. This is not a judgment. It is just a description of a very human pattern. And the reason it matters to name it clearly is because naming it is the first step toward changing it. Consider the possibility that this moment, right now, today, is a point of decision, not a dramatic one, not a movie-style turning point with music and slow motion. Just a quiet, honest moment where you recognize that the path you are on is leading somewhere. And you get to decide, right now, whether that somewhere is where you actually want to go. Every day that passes without that decision being made is still a decision. It is just a passive one. Here is a question worth asking yourself in a quiet, honest moment by yourself. If you continue exactly as you've been, same patterns, same postponements, same cycles, where will you be in 5 years? What will your relationship with your faith look like? What will the gap between who you are and who you want to be feel like by then? You do not have to answer out loud, but the honest answer matters more than you might be comfortable admitting. The good news, and there really is good news here, is that cycles can be broken, not always easily, not always quickly, but genuinely, actually, truly broken. And the process does not require a perfect dramatic moment of transformation. It requires small, honest, consistent steps in a new direction. Step 1 is simply this. Name what is happening without making excuses for it. The second step is to look honestly at what triggers a pattern in the first place. Not to judge yourself for having triggers. Everyone has them, but to understand them, because you cannot make a plan around something you have not clearly identified. What situations, what feelings, what environments tend to lead you toward the thing you want to leave? Knowing the answer to that is practical, actionable information. It gives you somewhere to start. Step 3 is to bring yourself closer to the things that genuinely strengthen you from the inside. For many people of faith, the Quran is one of those things, not as a ritual, but as a real conversation. Reading it slowly, thinking about what it is actually saying, letting it land in a real way, not as a checkbox, but as a resource, not as a performance, but as a genuine source of steadiness. That kind of relationship with sacred text tends to build something in a person that is very hard to shake. Step 4 is to take your prayers seriously, not as a formality, but as a real act of connection. Each prayer is a pause in the middle of the noise of life. 5 pauses every single day. And every time you show up for one of those pauses, you are saying something about who you choose to be. You are practicing orientation. You are training your attention. You are building a habit of turning towards something better. That practice, over time, starts to shape the rest of your day in ways that are hard to fully explain until you experience them. Step 5 is about environment, and it is one of the most practical steps on this list. The people around you, the content you consume, the places you spend your time. These things shape you, not completely and not without your awareness, but they do shape you. If your environment constantly feeds a pattern you are trying to break, the struggle will always be uphill. Making even small adjustments to your environment can make the same internal battle significantly more winnable. Here is a practical invitation. Not a challenge with prizes, just a real thing you can actually do. 7 days, 1 step per day, one small, honest, genuine move in a better direction each day. That is all. Not a complete transformation, not a perfect record, just 7 real attempts. 1 day at a time, 1 decision at a time, 1 honest effort at a time. And at the end of 7 days, you will have built something that was not there before. Momentum is a real thing. It works in both directions, toward patterns you want and away from them. Every day that you push, even a little, in the direction you want to go build something, it builds the evidence inside your own mind that you are capable of doing this. And that evidence starts to matter more and more the longer you keep showing up for it. 7 days is not a magic number. It is just a real, specific, achievable place to begin right now before you keep scrolling or move on to the next thing. Write this in the comments. Write, I'm going to try again. Not, I will be perfect. Not, I have it all figured out. Just, I'm going to try again. That is the real commitment. Not to the people reading the comments, but to yourself. And making it public, even in a small way, can be the thing that makes it feel more real. Here is what is true and what is worth holding on to at the end of all of this. You are not defined by your worst moment. You are not defined by the thing you keep falling into. You are defined by the decision you make to keep turning back toward what you believe in. Every single time you turn back, even after falling, even after failing, even after repeating, that turning is who you are. That turning is the point. That turning is everything. There will come a day when each of us makes our last prayer and does not know it was the last. There will come a day when each of us asks for forgiveness for the final time without realizing it. The question is not whether that day is coming. The question is what today looks like. What does today look like for you? What decision does today get to be? Subscribe if this reached you. And write in the comments, may Allah keep me firm. Mean it when you write it.